Hi guys, this is Ananya and welcome back to my channel. This is my March book wrap. So I read 4 books in March and overall it was a good reading month. I could have read more last month, but I got really busy with Medium. I started writing for Medium, and for those of you who don't know what Medium is, it's a great platform to share your writing. It's great for writers and readers who like to read articles, who love to write articles, and it's a great community because you get a lot of engagement. So yeah, Medium is a great platform for both readers and writers. So without wasting any further time, let's get into it. So the first book that I read in March was Too Good to Be True by Prajakta Kohli, and I've already done a full length review of this book, and I'm going to put the link to that in the description down below so you guys can check it out. Since I've already done a review, I won't talk much about this book. Just to give you a gist, it's a rom-com. The protagonist of this book is named Avni. She is a law student and she works part-time at a bookstore, and there she meets Aman, who is this guy who's actually too good to be true. He's a handsome businessman who's also a millionaire. So they fall in love, and it's basically a book about their meet cute and their relationship. I really expected more from this book because it's coming from Prajakta Kohli, and we know, and people who know Prajakta Kohli know that she's an avid reader. This book was extremely disappointing because Prajakta has read some really good books, and her writing was supposed to be much better. This her debut was supposed to be much better, but unfortunately that didn't happen. This book, it had no plot. The characters were very one dimensional, and the whole thing was just very, very unrealistic. So this one was my 1-star read in March. Yeah, it wasn't a great beginning. Coming to the second book, I read The Crash by Frida McFadden. It's about Tegan, who is 8 months pregnant. She has some problem with the father of her child, and so she decides to visit her brother, except she gets caught in a blizzard and has an accident, and her car breaks down. She's then rescued by this couple. There's this guy who takes her home to his wife. His wife is supposed to be a nurse. Tegan feels she'll be fine, but things start to get much worse for her when she realizes that this couple will probably not let her leave. And to make things even worse, her leg is fractured, so she can't move at all. They keep her in the basement, in a hospital bed. They'll lock the door to the basement and she can't get up. So it's a whole thing. So this one was my first book by Frida McFadden, and I was genuinely surprised at how bingeable her books are. I finished reading this one in just 4 hours, and it got me out of a reading slump. It was a short read with very good pacing, and that's what I loved about this book. The chapters were short and they always ended on a cliffhanger. So, you just can't wait to read the next chapter. And I feel her thriller books are perfect for reading on vacations. They are short and they are bingeable, so you can just chill in your hotel room and read, or this can be a great beach read, especially for people who love thrillers. The characters here were quite insane and stupid. The main character was really stupid at times. I felt the plot twists were kind of predictable, but I really enjoyed reading this one. This one created a really claustrophobic kind of an environment because the MC was pregnant and she couldn't move. She was so powerless that, my heart was pounding the entire time, and I just couldn't wait to reach the end where I'll get to know that Tegan and her baby are fine. So I gave this a 3 star, and I'm really glad that I found her book. And her books will be my go to whenever I'm in a reading slump. So the third book that I read in March is I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrews. This This one was one of my most anticipated books in 2025, and it didn't disappoint. So, here the protagonist, Thomas Walsh, gets a job to be an interpreter for Vivian Farrow. She hasn't spoken a word ever since she went missing. Thomas's mother is also deaf, so he gets this job without any kind of a problem. But there is one condition, that he has to live with the Farrows. He has to live at their home. And Vivian's father asks him to spy on Vivian because he feels that she's mixing with the wrong crowd. At first, Vivian doesn't like him and tries to shake him off, but soon they fall in love. Thomas realizes that something is not right when people start to die, and as it turns out, anyone who hears Vivian speak dies a horrible death. And Vivian is trying to get herself exorcised through surgery. Honestly, I couldn't tell where this book is going. It was very different from what I expected, but in a good way. Without giving any spoilers, I will tell you that this one does horror and romance perfectly. I loved the first half of this book, but the second half of the book felt a little bit cluttered. It dragged on a bit in parts, and that is why I gave this a 4 star instead of a 5 star. I honestly believe that this book should be turned into a series because it is so good and it will look amazing when it's seen visually. If you want to read a YA horror book, then I'll definitely recommend this one. So finally, the last book I read in March was The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. So I have become a fan of her writing style and her plot twists. This one was also very bingeable and I finished it within a day. This story is about Sydney, who's an accountant in New York. She doesn't have a good dating history, and then she goes on a date with this guy who's kind of a creepy stalker, and she's saved by this mysterious stranger. His name is Tom. He's a surgeon, and they start dating, and he seems like too good to be true. He seems to be the perfect boyfriend that she never had. The story has two timelines, the past and the present, and there is a series of murders happening, and the police suspect a man who dates their victims before killing them. And Sydney has this lingering doubt that the man she's dating right now might be the serial killer. So I liked this book better than The Crash. I really like the plot twist at the end. And I feel Freda writes her antagonists better than her protagonists. Her protagonists always seem to be a little stupid and dull. However, her antagonists are much better written. The ending was nice, maybe a bit unrealistic, but a great way to crank up the drama. And I'll say this again, if you are in a reading slump, then you need to read her books to get out of it. There's cliffhangers at the end of every chapter, and that really helps. So it's unputdownable. You have to know what happens next. And I'm also open to recommendations. If you have read any of her books, then please comment down below which one you liked best. I would like to read more of her books. So that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Happy reading.